You know that feeling, right? Your heart's pounding, you're staring at a final exam. But have you ever stopped to think about who actually designs these tests and why they're put together the way they are? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the hidden blueprint behind the tests that pretty much shape our entire academic lives.
I mean, maybe you've had this happen. You absolutely ace a multiple-choice final, but then completely bomb an essay. Or you walk out of one exam thinking, yeah, that perfectly captured what I learned, while the next one feels like it came out of left field. That feeling? It's not just in your head. It's all about how the test itself is designed.
So what are we really talking about here? At its core, an achievement test is, well, it's just a tool. Its whole job is to measure what you've learned, what you understand, or the skills you've developed after a period of instruction. It's basically the, so what did you get out of this class? Snapshot. To really get this, we're going to break it all down. We'll look at what these tests are, what makes a test good, the huge difference between a standardized test and one your teacher whips up, and of course the classic showdown between essay questions and multiple choice. Then we'll wrap it all up with the most important thing for you to take away from all this.
All right, first up, what are these tests actually for? I'll give you a hint. It's about way more than just that letter grade you see at the top of the page.
These tests are doing a lot of heavy lifting for everyone in the education system. Yeah, for you, they measure what you've mastered. But they also give teachers feedback on what's working. They help counselors guide you on what to do next, and they can even spot learning difficulties so students can get the right kind of help. They're a huge feedback loop for the whole system. Okay, so we know why we have tests, but what separates a good one from a bad one? Let's get into the quality checklist.
Think about it. If a test is going to have a real impact on your future, it has to be fair and it has to be accurate. In the world of test design, this all boils down to two golden rules.
First up, we've got reliability. This is all about consistency. Think of a bathroom scale. If it's reliable, it gives you the same weight every time you step on it. A reliable test is the same way. Your score should be pretty consistent. Then you've got validity, which is about accuracy. Does the test actually measure what it says it's measuring? A history test should measure history knowledge, not just how fast you can read. A really good test has to be both reliable and valid. And beyond those two big ones, a quality test is also objective, meaning your grade shouldn't change depending on who's grading it or what kind of mood they're in. It also needs to be able to tell the difference between students who really get the material and those who don't. And, it has to be practical, not crazy expensive or time-consuming. Finally, it should cover a good chunk of the subject, not just one tiny random topic. Now, these ideas of what makes a good test apply to the two major types of tests you're ever going to face: standardized tests and teacher-made tests. And trust me, even though they can look similar, they are built for totally different jobs. A standardized test is called that for a reason. Everything's uniform. Everybody gets the same questions, the same amount of time, and is scored in the exact same way. The real key here is the norm. Your score is being compared to a massive group of other students, which is how they figure out what's an average score, what's high, and what's low. And making one of these things, it's a huge process. You've got experts figuring out the goals, analyzing all the course content, writing hundreds of questions, and then, and this is the important part, trying them out on big groups to see which ones actually work. They keep the good ones, toss the bad ones, and then they set the standards. It's a long, scientific, and pretty expensive ordeal. Now, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have the test we all know and love, the one your teacher makes. This isn't designed to compare you to kids all over the country. Its goal is way more direct. Did you learn the stuff that was taught in this classroom? So, here's the bottom line. Think of a standardized test like a telescope. It's for making these huge, broad comparisons over vast distances. A teacher-made test is more like a microscope. It's for a super close-up look at what's happening in one specific place. One is built by a team of experts over months. The other is built by your teacher, probably with a lot of coffee over a few nights. Okay, let's zoom that microscope in on the classroom. When your teacher is making a test, they have to decide how to ask you things. And this leads us to that classic showdown, the essay versus the objective question. It's a really fundamental choice for them. Do they ask you to build an answer completely from scratch, like with an essay? Or do they ask you to just pick the right answer from a list? This one decision changes literally everything about the test. Essay questions, they are fantastic for seeing if you can think critically and build a solid argument, but they can be really subjective to grade and you can only cover a few topics. On the flip side, objective questions, like multiple choice or fill in the blank, can cover the entire syllabus, but they mostly test your memory and, let's be honest, can encourage some strategic guessing. This just perfectly shows the trade-off every teacher has to make.
Now, objective questions usually come in two flavors. First, there's the recall type. Think fill in the blank. You have to pull the answer directly out of your brain. There are no hints to help you out.
The second type is recognition, which is your classic multiple choice, true-false, or matching. The correct answer is right there in front of you. Your job is just to recognize it among the wrong answers.
But hey, let's not knock the essay. As this quote points out, when the goal is to see if a student can actually analyze, criticize, and really think deeply about a topic, there is just no substitute for an essay. It's the only way to really see those higher-level mental gears turning.
So after going through all these different types and styles, what's the big takeaway for us, as students and learners?
The single most important thing to get is that there's no such thing as a perfect test. Each one is a specific tool designed for a specific job. An essay is the wrong tool if you want to measure broad factual knowledge, and a multiple choice test is the wrong tool if you want to measure someone's ability to write a persuasive argument. It's all about picking the right tool for the job. So let's boil this all down one last time. Here are the things to remember. A good test has to be both reliable and valid. Standardized tests are for comparing you to everybody else. Teacher-made tests are for seeing what you learned in that one class. And essays test how deep you can go, while objective questions test how broad your knowledge is.
And that brings us to a final, much bigger question. Understanding how these tests are built shows us their strengths, but it also really highlights their weaknesses. So if every single type of test has its flaws, it makes you wonder, what's the best way to actually measure what a person truly knows? How can we get a better, fuller picture? Definitely something to think about.